Hello, 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 and welcome to another Win Daily Sports Show. My name is Michael Rasile. I have an absolute NFL legend here with me. I have Levon Kirkland. He is in the Ring of Honor at Clemson University. Not sure if you've heard, they've won a couple national championships recently. Two-time NFL Pro Bowler, MVP of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the 1990s NFL All-Decade Team, and he is currently the Vice President of Development of the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. He is also a podcast host of Inside Bliss and Clemson Football Show. Levon, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. How about you?
It's a good day to be alive, brother. I appreciate you asking. Is it fun when people kind of just read all the? I didn't even get to all the accomplishments, but that's kind of get your juices flowing a little bit, right?
Yeah, I believe in receiving gifts. I think you have to be a receiver in order to appreciate the gifts that God has given you. So I have come to a place in my life now where I really just appreciate any kind of compliments or somebody giving me, they're talking about my accolades. I just appreciate it and tell them thank you. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Hell yeah, man. I mean, you very well deserved. You earned every single piece of it. So excited to get to talk about all of it, talk about a little bit more as well. Obviously, as I said, also a podcast host. It's my favorite thing I get to do. So I hope we can share a little bit around that. But the first question, Levon, I have for everybody on this Win Daily Sports interview show is, what is your Win Daily mindset? How do you make sure that you're winning each and every single day?
Well, I never come to a negative solution. So if I'm trying to figure out a problem or just going through my day, I make sure it doesn't end up in a negative way. Try to make sure it's positive. I've been doing a lot of meditation of late, also just a lot of reading and just a lot of self-love. So those are some of the things I do to really keep everything as positive as possible.
That is exactly what you have to do. I meditate every single day. I have for the last about 2 years now. I 100%, I believe in receiving as well. It sounds like you're familiar with David Meltzer at all. He's a good friend of mine. He sounds like he might be a good friend of yours if you haven't met him already. So.
No, I've never met David, but I really do try to stay in tune. And it was one of the things that I had to recognize that, you have to love yourself before you can really give a lot of love. And once I started doing that, I mean, things really started really working out positive for me. And so I also read a life. I have what we call a life book. And so I read from the 10-year, 5-year, 1-year vision. And reading that every day kind of keeps me on board. And like I said, I try to do a lot of reading. And, reading is just like exercising that muscle. So I try to exercise that muscle as much as possible. So doing all those variety of things really helps me out. It really does.
If you figured out what works, man, keep on doing it, right? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. You'd say you're a big reader too. I actually just wrote a book. So after this is over, I'm going to ask you for your address and then I'll maybe ship you one of the books that I just published a couple days ago. So excited to get your take on that. So
awesome.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Appreciate you. So let's talk a little bit about your football career. I mean, obviously, Ring of Honor at Clemson, not messing around, two-time NFL Pro Bowler, very clearly not messing around. Let's start in that college space, though. What was it like? Clemson is not quite what it was back then, right? It's a little different now, we can say. I think I can humbly say that. So talk to me a little bit. What was it like? Still a major college program, still Division I, still, one of the more well-known programs in the country. What was it like playing, elite college football back, when you did back in the early 90s, late 80s?
Well, to be honest with you, Clemson was a really good team when I played. We were a team that we kind of lost like 2 games every year. But we were a tough team to play. We were a very physical team, very defensive oriented, special team oriented, and we ran the ball a whole lot. And Danny Ford was actually a pretty good coach, really good coach, really knew how to motivate. And when I came to Clemson, I wasn't very heavily recruited, but, just understood that I was a good athlete and it's all about development. I started lifting weights a little bit more once I got to college, and I kind of filled out, and I ended up playing my redshirt freshman year, ended up starting the last 3 games. And from there, I asked Coach Chiswick, who was Auburn's head coach when I think they won the national championship. He was a GA. And I remember sitting down with him one day and saying, "Hey, man, can you help me become a better football player, understanding my role and understanding the plays?" And he did. And that year, I barely made mistakes, and the career just kept on progressing. Just kept getting better and better. So I was probably a shock to most people. I was, but I don't think for myself I was really that surprised that I can play on that high of a level.
And it sounds like you've had that growth mindset for a very long time now, right? How many people are willing to just kind of rest on their laurels, rest on their current talent? You very clearly went out to seek new information and just try to become better at the sport that you love so much. And then obviously it has then given a lot back to you. But has that always been a mindset of yours, even from a very young age, or was that something you eventually had to grow into?
Oh no, I think I've always had that mindset of just growing and being a better person. And I read I think it's Carolyn Duet, I want to say, and she talks about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And I just like, wow, yeah, you can really get better at everything you do. It's not something that's we kind of feel that's handed to you, or you're just smart, or you're just athletic. You can really learn anything and do anything. So that's been my mindset. That whatever I don't know, I can just learn it and get better at it. So I've been doing that I'm telling you, for the last couple of years, and it's really benefited me a whole lot. So I just, if something new comes up, I just say like, okay, I can figure it out. I can learn it, and and the growth mindset has been my mindset for the last several years.
That's the way to do it, man. That is the way to do it. Just try to get better each and every day. So before we move on to the Steelers, they've had a couple losses recently. Let's stick on Clemson for one more second.
Okay.
Are they winning the national championship again this year?
Well, I think it's going to be tough, to be honest with you. They got a young team, very talented team, but also a very young team. And, really, they've done some great stuff, but then there's a lot of times you can tell they've been slipping. And this is really the year that they've been hurt. Trevor Lawrence has been down with COVID. So it is it's a possibility. You can, you never know. But I'm not sure this year. But I feel they get into the playoffs, they got a chance. To get into the playoffs, you got a chance. But Alabama is looking extremely strong right
It's going to be fun. I'm a huge college football fan, really just football in general. So I'm excited.
now.
We're recording this on Tuesday the 15th. So we're only a couple days away from championship weekend, which means I'm sitting in front of my TV all day Saturday watching college football. So it's going to be a blast. And I definitely, I'm excited. I want to see another rematch. That first Notre Dame Clemson game was incredible. So if they can give me that again, man, I'm 100% in. Clemson, Notre Dame, Bama, and I guess Ohio State. I'd take that as the 4 teams in the playoffs, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, no question about it. Because I really believe those are the 4 best teams in the country at this point in time. I think for Clemson fans, it could be a little scary to lose another game. So I think it's important for them to win this game more so than Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame is in regardless. I think Alabama is in, and I think if Ohio State holds up, they'll be in. I think the only question mark you have is probably Clemson at this point in time. They really need to win this game.
Yeah, of course. If Clemson wins, I think obviously they're in, as you said, unless it's just some catastrophic meltdown by Notre Dame, they're going to be in as well. Alabama, I don't really see anybody beating them. So it should be
Right.
fun, man. But I'm very excited for it, and I'm sure you are, and the rest of the alumni at Clemson are excited. This run of dominance that you guys have had recently has had to have been a lot of fun. So I'm glad you're enjoying it.
You appreciate it. You got to be grateful because every team really doesn't go through this, and especially the last 6 or 7 years. I mean, the Tigers have been outstanding and been a team to reckon with, and always have an opportunity to win the national championship. So I don't know if it's going to change anytime soon, but I think this year was a little bit off as far as injuries are concerned. You have to be fortunate, to make it to the national championship game, and they just haven't been fortunate. Maybe, hopefully, they got better, and they can go into this ACC championship game and win this thing.
I'm excited, and yeah, I think with how do you say DJ Uiagalelei? I think
Yeah,
he's going to
you
be
got it.
Yeah,
You
I
got it.
practiced, man.
Yeah.
I knew what I was coming into. I practiced a little bit, but no, he's incredible. Obviously, against that first Notre Dame game, I don't think there was too much of a drop off. But anyway, it's fun. I could talk college football all day, but I want to get back to you, Levon. Your career is absolutely incredible. So as I said, you were a two-time NFL Pro Bowler. You are a two-time NFL Pro Bowler. There's no
Correct.
past tense there. You are a two-time. I apologize. MVP of
No
the
problem.
Steelers. You were on the all decades team for the 1990s. I also saw here that you played in every single game in your NFL career. You played 16
Yes.
games in 10 straight seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to that mindset, I mean, playing middle linebacker, having, 150 tackles almost in a season. What is it like to get up each and every Sunday, 16 out of 17 Sundays, and then the playoffs, obviously, and get up and know, hey man, you're gonna take a beating. You're gonna, and the bumps and the bruises and the nicks and the cuts and just getting through every single season. What does that take, not just from a physical standpoint, but again from that mental standpoint?
Well, my mentality was always to be aggressive. I felt like, football, you have to be fortunate to play as long as I played and not to miss a game. I never missed a college game or a high school game. So when I got to the NFL, it's kind of a funny story. We played in the preseason against Minnesota, and I believe that McDaniels, the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Famer, he knocked me back so hard. And after I skipped on the ground a couple of times, I was like, oh, I see. I have to always be the aggressor. So from that standpoint on, I was just always the aggressor. Just always hit them first before they hit me. And I think that really helped me a whole lot as far as the NFL was concerned.
Yeah, man. I mean, you have the accolades to prove you weren't too bad. We actually have Daniel Suppers over here in the comments. He's your favorite Steelers linebacker of all time. So some of the Win Daily family, they already appreciate you, already love you. So we always love to see that. And I mean, we could talk about your 10-year career. You did it all, man. You made it to a Super Bowl. You sacked Troy Aikman in the Super Bowl, as long as the
Right.
internet's not lying to me. I mean, talk to me about the Super Bowl a little bit. I mean, on the Steelers, one of the top 3, top 4 franchises in the NFL, getting
Yeah.
the opportunity to play in a Super Bowl against the Cowboys, who they call them America's team, but I think that's because everyone in America hates them, right? So what's that like? I mean, just that season, what was that magical run, that feeling like when the lights are as bright as they possibly can be?
Well, honestly, we started off 3-4 that year. So our season was a little shaky. We have a bye week almost in the middle of the season. I think it was after the 7th game. And we come back, and Coach Cowher, we usually have this board that has all the teams we played, whether we won or lost. And he basically took everything down, and he told us right then that we were going to start the season over, that we're 0-0, and we're going to start this season over with, and it starts with Jacksonville. So we end up beating Jacksonville. So we really take on the mantra of we're 1-0. We're not 4-4. We're actually 1-0. And then we play Chicago. We beat them in overtime 2-0. Then we went 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0. So we flipped that whole season around. But I think a lot of people don't realize that we actually started off pretty poorly at 3-4. And we end up going to the Super Bowl. We've been close. The year before we lost to San Diego in the AFC Championship, and we were at the 3-yard line. We ended up losing those guys. So it was kind of a progression for us. But when I got there, a personal story was I talked to Matt Millen. Matt Millen told one of his old teammates, Al Boyd Mays, about me. And he thought that I was the dark horse of the defense. He thought I was a really good player, but he basically told me that I was not trusting my eyes. And I was like, and it was my aha moment. It was like, trust what you see, because you see in the right things. Trust it. And in that game, I was just like, I'm going to trust everything I see, and I'm just going to be aggressive. And I was totally aggressive that game. And just, I think that was a game that really kind of put me out there as far as a player. I think other people knew, coaches and other players knew who I was, but we had guys like Ron Woodson, Kevin Green, Greg Lloyd, Chad Brown, and those guys were getting a little bit more pub than I was getting. But after that Super Bowl game, it really just lit a fire under me. And the next year, I came back ready, better, and readier than ever, and ended up going to my first Pro Bowl. So really, the Super Bowl was wonderful. Too bad we lost the game, but that was really a great game for me personally.
That is fantastic. Turning a negative of losing, obviously, into a positive, as you said, no negative solution. So I like how you did that. Talk to me a little bit about your seeing, though. Again, exactly. I don't want to butcher the quote, but like, what were you doing differently? How do you not trust your eyes? Right? I've never played middle linebacker in the NFL, so I'm not here to understand that exactly. So what do you mean by not trusting your eyes and being able to kind of see what you want to see?
Well, sometimes, I think trusting your eyes is basically equivalent to having confidence. And a lot of times I was making plays, but I wasn't really trusting it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you don't really trust, a lot of times you're a little hesitant or you're a little fast. So you're just like, you're making mistakes when you shouldn't be, because your eyes work perfectly. You're seeing it, but you're not trusting it. So when he told me that, I got it. I immediately got it. I'm like, okay, well, whatever play I'm gonna see, it's the right play, and I'm just gonna make the play instead of kind of like, should I do this? Or you hesitate, and playing that position, you can't really hesitate. You gotta be right on point as far as your steps are concerned, as far as your reads are concerned. You have to be a technician. And that day, I just believed in what I was seeing, and I played aggressively, and it worked.
I love it. I love it. Took that, turned it into a Pro Bowl, as you said. The following year, you got another one as well. What is it like? So talk to me a little bit. I was pretty young back when you got voted into the Pro Bowl. Was it still fan popular vote? Is that how it was working back then, or was it a little bit of a different system?
It was kind of a combination. It was players around the league, in your division or in your conference. So we were in the AFC. So basically, everybody on the offensive side of it voted for the defensive players. Likewise, since the defensive players vote for the offensive players. So to get the approval of your peers, enough of them, I mean, it was amazing, because at that time we had Junior Seau, Brian Cox, and Ray Lewis as inside backers, and they only took like maybe 2 inside backers. So for me to be able to go those 2 years, and the second year be the starter and be all pro, was just amazing for me, because I was the kind of linebacker that most people thought was more of a run stopper. But that year I went to the Pro Bowl, I was able to play on third down a whole lot more. And I made like 4 interceptions that year. And that was the most that anybody from that dime position. And really, if you count some of the playoffs, I had a little bit more than that. So, yeah, I had I think maybe 5 interceptions that year, which is pretty good for an inside linebacker. So what I did was I was able to show people the versatility, even though I was a pretty big guy for my position.
Yeah, and congratulations, as you said, you named some other incredible middle linebackers as well. Junior Seau, hope rest in peace to him, of course. Obviously, Ray Lewis. You're not messing around with some of the guys that you were playing with and going up against. And what is it like having your peers specifically, and the peers that you would be going up against on the offensive side of the ball? What is that? How much respect do you feel when they vote you as one of the best players at your position in the National Football League?
Oh, it's great, because when you go into the NFL, your goal is to be one of the best players ever play. And for other people to see it, not just yourself, it's gratifying. It really is. It shows that you're doing something right. You have to continue to do that. But yeah, it was amazing that people thought that much of me to put me in that slot.
Congratulations, man. Very well deserved, obviously, for what you were able to do. So we talked about the football a little bit. Then, all decades team. Like that again, that just has to be such an incredible honor. You are one of the best players through a 10-year span. As we talked about before, you did not miss a game in your 10-year career. Some of that was in the 90s. A couple of those years were in the 2000s. Again, what is that like? Just kind of being voted and given that vote of confidence of saying, hey, you were one of the best players in this entire decade. That just, again, I mean, I know I'm asking kind of the same question and over again, but it still has to feel incredible and allow you to really, you said you like to receive, man. Tell me more about how awesome it was.
It was amazing. And because what happens, like I had this mentality that I was from a small town, and I didn't realize that it didn't really matter where you're from; it's where you're at. And I just got confident, and as I kept playing and understanding that I was one of the best players. So it was honestly, it was a surprising thing, but I was happy that I was voted. I mean, I really was. And anybody tells you any differently, I don't think they're telling you the truth. So yeah, it was great, because I was still playing, and to be voted, one of the decade players, it was amazing. I had a great time with it, and my teammates, they did too. They really acknowledged me as one of the best players. So it was great. It really was.
I love it, man. Kudos and congratulations there. Very, very well deserved. Actually, a member of the Win Daily Sports family just shot me a text message and said his uncle, Pat Hodgson, was a coach on the Steelers staff. Does that ring a bell when you were there?
Well, Pat Hobson was a white guy, so he was a tight end coach.
Okay.
So you're saying his uncle? Yeah.
Yeah, my friend's uncle, correct.
Okay.
Is Pat. Yeah.
I was like, huh? No, yeah, he was a tight end coach for probably my first 5 or 6 years there. Yeah, I remember Pat.
That's awesome. Yeah, he's a family member of ours, so we always like to bring those up. So do appreciate that there. And so again, man, you just had such an incredible career. Do want to give you some kudos and congratulations. You don't need it from me, but again, want to give it to you. I think it is pretty darn cool. And the one question that to end the aspect of your career is one thing that we have seen, one thing that I've seen in speaking with many incredible athletes like yourself is when your career comes to an end, more times than not, it's not on your terms, it's on somebody else's terms. And it's a very unfortunate aspect of being a professional athlete. So you tell me, how was it something, were you comfortable? Were you okay with walking away from the game, or was it just an unfortunate ending where you couldn't find that spot on another team on a roster and just kind of had to accept the fate that was given to you?
Actually, I walked away myself. And I had teams that wanted me to play maybe one more year or so. But I realized that I wasn't the player that I was before. And I didn't quite like the game as much as I did. When it comes down to the little things and you start thinking about retirement, then you're already retiring. So I just I got to the point where 11 years was enough for me. I didn't want to exert that energy. I just got married, about to have a baby in October. And I thought it was just time for me to walk away. I actually got a call from Jacksonville, and they were just like, hey, do you want to come back? And I'm like, no, really not. I mean, sometimes you just know as a player. And I think you have to trust that when it's over with. Some guys will try to continue to play as long as they possibly can, and I get that. But 11 years was long enough for me.
And kudos to you for that. 11 years is a very, very long time, over a decade there in the league. That is pretty impressive. And yeah, as you said, sometimes you just know. And I'm happy that you figured that out, because we can see it as fans, right? We kind of know who's out there, and you're just like, all right, man. Like, I respect it. Again, you want to keep playing football. It's the thing you've done for your whole life. Who the hell am I to say to stop playing? But you can very much tell when, unfortunately, somebody is over the hill a little bit.
Yeah, it's a shelf life. I think that a lot of times we go in and we feel like we can play forever, but I think I think you have to realize, just like with everything, it comes to an end. You have to realize that and move on. And I was fortunate enough that I didn't get hurt or anything like that, or they forced me out. I came to the conclusion that this was it for me, and I just kind of retired.
Hey, man. And you did some stuff after you retired, though. So you retired from the NFL, but obviously you're doing some stuff now. I also saw after you retired, you did end up going back to Clemson, got another degree, and then also worked in the administration staff, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the admissions department.
Admissions.
And because I wanted to do something different. A lot of guys go into the football realm of things. I didn't want to quite do that yet. I wanted to see what else could I possibly do. And I basically went up to the president and said, hey, I would like to give back to Clemson in some kind of capacity. And they actually okay. And they allowed me an opportunity to be in something that I've never been in before. it was really cool. I stayed there for about 5 or 6 years, and then I end up becoming a head coach at a high school, a Christian high school. And then around that time, my wife got sick with cancer and was diagnosed with lung cancer. It was like 5 years, and I got a job at FAMU, which is a HBCU, a historically black college. And we went there, and she passed away while we were in Florida. So, yeah, I got an opportunity to do that. And then I actually coached on all three levels: high school, college, and the NFL. And now, once I got through with the Cardinals, I basically told myself that I wanted to coach, but I wanted to coach it my own way. And that's when the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame kind of came up. And really, it brings out the creativity in me because we do a lot of marketing and we do these podcasts, and you're trying to come up with material and how your message is actually being taken, cleaning up your message. And we've been doing that for the last 2 years, and we have really improved in what we're doing. So, yeah, so I think that, after some of the struggles after playing ball, I'm at a good place right now.
That's what we like to hear, man. That's all you can do. As you said, there's no negative solutions. There's only positives. You keep coming out on top, and that's the most important part. So talk to me a little bit more. I mean, obviously, as apologies about your wife is very unfortunate. But as you said, you kept moving on. Obviously, working in the NFL as a Cardinals linebacking coach, which is pretty damn impressive as well. And now where you are with the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame. I apologize. You're also a big member of and I want to make sure I say this right, the Bridge Builders Excellence Program.
Right.
That you do that through the South Carolina Hall of Fame. So talk to me a little bit about what exactly that is and how you're helping empower student athletes within South Carolina.
Well, we try to make sure we get people the vision, envision being committed to educating, empowering, and encouraging our students. South Carolina has a issue that we're 43rd in college and career readiness. So basically what that means is that our students are basically going out there not ready for college and not ready for the workforce. And that puts them behind, not only them, but it also puts behind our community and our state. So we sympathize with this problem, and we thought like, hey, what if we bring, different programs in? And what if we campaign to be in the top 10 in 2030? But we galvanize all these different programs that are out there. And just when I was in admissions, people just didn't know the information. So we think it's the same way with South Carolina, that maybe some of our students just don't know the information. There's a lot of technical schools out there, community colleges out there that really afford some great, great programs, but nobody knows about them. So we thought that, hey, let's create this Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland, which is a leadership and football show. So we'll interview people who have done some incredible things as far as football is concerned, and we get their point of view. Then we do something like what we call Mikey football. And Mikey talks about the football in the area of South Carolina. Then we do a quick hit. And the quick hit is basically a nugget of information for people who really need to know something, like maybe you're buying your house for the first time, or maybe you're buying your first car. And a lot of times people go in that situation, they don't know exactly what to do. I know I didn't. When I got my first car and house, I didn't really know exactly what to do. So we try to make sure we give out really great life skill lessons doing that. And so we try to make sure we galvanize everybody together. And you could be a part of the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame by being a donor, being an advertiser, being a volunteer, being a member. So that's what we try to come across, and that we're committed to this movement, which is educating, empowering, and also encouraging our students. So we feel like the climactic scene is that South Carolina is going to be better. That all of our students will have an opportunity to be successful, because it's not about, honestly, for me, it's not about going to the NFL. Now, if you can, that's a great thing, but there's a lot of life besides football. And football really does give people, some life skills. So we're trying to combine all that. And we're trying to be top 10 in 2030. So it's a lofty goal, but we feel good about it.
And so you've been doing this for a couple years now. What have some of the successes that you've personally seen? Again, having this be a little bit more grassroots, right? Reaching out and getting in contact with the students and really giving them that information. What is some of this? What are some of the successes that you've been able to see so far over the last couple of years?
Well, we've seen we had 10 finalists for our Bridge Builder Excellent program. And what we had was this award program. And one of our guys, Yeoman, he actually won that program. But what we were able to highlight was some amazing student athletes and what they do and how they give back off the field, on the field, especially in the classroom. And to see those guys now in college and having those skills, I mean, it's amazing. And we feel like this will be a network that will continue to keep in touch with different students and help them along the way. Because I feel like you can always give a revival speech, but most of the times doing a revival or a leadership speech, you leave. You give this speech, everybody's hyped up, and then the leader in the program is gone. We hope to continue to have the program throughout their lifetime. So that's what we're looking at, and so far we're not bad. We got a lot of work to do, but we're doing better.
And as you said, your goal is your aim is to be top 10 by 2030. So it is a very lofty goal, and we're about 8 years away from that. I think, 9 years. I don't know. This last year has felt like about 6. So maybe it's only 5 years away. Who the heck knows at this point? But what will that take, right? Like you can kind of see that roadmap. You kind of understand what needs to be done, and I'm sure you're learning more on a daily basis. What is it going to take from you and the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame, and really the community members of South Carolina, to allow you to get there? Because hey, if you make top 10, that's incredible. But if you fall to 12, 43 to 12 is still a pretty incredible jump as well. So how are we going to get to that top 10 spot?
Well, I think honestly, it's awareness and making sure that everybody is aware of the problem that we have and also how we're going to get there. And we realize that, it's something that we can't do by ourselves, but there are programs out there that are doing the work, and we're trying to highlight those programs. So if you live in a certain area, we're going to try to make sure that you know what's in your area and you know what can help you out and you know what programs are out there. So we feel that it's about awareness, and it's about building a network or support system that's going to really help our students along the way.
I love it. Well, let's build a little bit of awareness. Where can people find some more information on the Bridge Builders Excellence Program?
Yeah, you just go to South Carolina Football spelled out HOF.org/join. And you can also do the www, South Carolina Football spelled out HOF.org. So that's basically one way to find us. You can also, get in touch with me personally at Kirkland at South Carolina Football spelled out HOF.org.
I love it. I'll make sure to have all that information in the show notes, Levon. This has absolutely been fantastic. I'll also make sure that your podcasts are down in the show notes as well. We didn't touch upon them too much. You spoke about the Inside Blitz a little bit, but you also have a show where you talk Clemson football. So, hey, man, we have some Clemson football coming up this weekend, so I'm going to make sure that that's in there as well. But anywhere else, do you have social medias you want to share where everyone can find John?
I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. It's Levon_Kirkland. On Twitter, so you can find me that way. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, so it's not hard to find me.
Not too hard. I'll make sure I have all those links in there. But Levon, this has been absolutely incredible. 2-time Pro Bowler, MVP of the Steelers, 1990s All-Decade team, Levon Kirkland. Thanks so much for your time today, man.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it.